You better stay off Main Street.
Tyson Catherine, she says, that's the other short bus. She said, the other short bus is go out. Oh, he was scared.
You know, he's really, they're lucky. That reminds me of
Oh, Jim, that's what he just said, yeah.
that's scary.
It's like two singles. If I would have the boys on the bus,
Was it?
he was like, the brakes. Because somebody been hurt.
All right, you.
Oh, so he was by himself?
He's by himself.
Okay, I
He's
didn't
already
hear
dropped
that.
everybody.
Yeah.
He was just going to get gas and, fill it back up before he took it back.
Yeah.
Because they went to Whitman for that day to play. And he dropped them off and then went back up to get gas.
Get in the right frame of mind.
Because they're wanting to get out.
I'm still at work.
Yeah, they're wanting to get out.
He probably had days. Wow.
Oh, yeah. He goes, next time it's storm, I'm going out to the field.
Sadly, look how the town's full of rotten old trees.
I came through Marpleville and they were those straight line jams, you can't do, where you live.
Yeah. I'm just waiting. The one to take out, we read about three.
As long as they're leaning the right way. I got one in my backyard. I know they could have.
Okay, let's all rise, please. Mayor, will you lead us in the pledge, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, thank you that we can come together tonight. And Lord, we went through a big storm this weekend, and we just thank you that we didn't have severe injuries, and we just pray you'll help us to come back from that and get everything taken care of. And Lord, just watch over our community and help us to do the business of Newcastle tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. Please take roll, please.
Mike Guffey.
Present.
Jeff Hancock.
Present.
Jerry Walden.
Present.
Aaron Dickens.
Here.
Mark Coger.
Here.
Lynn Purdue.
Present.
Rex Heckendahl.
Here. Okay, our first order of business tonight, and are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
I make a motion we accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
Had a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Mike Guffey.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Coger.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Heckendahl.
Aye. Okay, our first resolution tonight is Resolution 062-12021-1, identifying a region for the creation of a regional development plan and participation in the Indiana Regional Economic Acceleration and Development Initiative, called READY. And basically, whereas the state of Indiana, through its Indiana Economic Development Corporation, has launched the Regional Economic Acceleration and Development Initiative, READY, and whereas the House Enrolled Act number 1001 of 2021 session of the Indiana General Assembly provided $500 million in state appropriations to promote strategic investment that will make Indiana a magnet for talent and economic growth. And whereas the READY program guidelines call for Indiana communities, counties, cities, and towns to identify their regions, coordinating organization, and notify the IEDC by July 1, 2021 of their intent to seek implementation funding up to $50 million for each region. And whereas the IEDC will make available up to $50,000 for a planning grant to assist in the creation of a regional development plan, RDP, for submission to the IEDC by August 31st, 2021. And whereas both the planning and implementation phases of READY require matching funds from the private sector and local community, and whereas the READY program guidelines discourage more than one RDP from the same region, and the guidelines state overlap between regions could indicate a lack of regional collaboration, and whereas support from local government elected officials of East Central Indiana Regional Partnership, www.forgeeci.com, are important in the creation of the RDP and critical for its subsequent execution, and whereas the East Central Indiana 21st Century Talent Region designations, application, data, and relationships will provide the framework for the creation of the RDP, and now therefore be it resolved, maybe I'm missing, no, I'm not missing a page. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Newcastle, Indiana, that the City of Newcastle, Indiana shall join the East Central Indiana Forge Your Path Ready regional effort as described herein. So I would move we pass 61-12021-1 today.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any discussion or questions or
Does Corey have anything to add to this?
add to that, Corey? From
Maybe add some more acronyms to it. Would you
Yeah.
like some more acronyms?
Well, probably not.
right.
We've probably got enough.
So, passing the resolution, and then also if there's a contribution available to the local match, but maybe we can handle that at the end of the meeting during citizens, that's up to you.
Okay. Okay, no other discussion or questions. We'll just have a roll call vote.
Mike Guffey.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walton.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hover.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Beckman.
Aye. I'm still getting the hang of this thing. Okay, next we'll go on to Resolution 0621 2021-2. And that one here, that's right there. And that is a resolution basically opting out of opioids-related litigation settlement pursuant to Indiana Code 4-6-15-2. And basically, whereas the City of Newcastle, Indiana, has been involved in multi-district litigation pursuing recovery for damages caused by the manufacture, sale, and distribution of opioids, and whereas the Indiana General Assembly has recently adopted legislation codified at Indiana Code 4-6-15-1 at SEC, which has the potential to greatly diminish the City of Newcastle's recovery from various responsible parties by requiring local government units to be bound by any settlement reached by the Indiana Attorney General, and allocating the settlement proceeds in part on a per capita basis and in part to be allocated by the Indiana Family and Social Services Agency, utilizing methodology to be developed by the FSSA. And whereas Indiana Code 4-6-15-2 provides that a political subdivision such as the City of Newcastle is bound by any settlement reached by the Indiana Attorney General with opioid manufacturers and distributors unless such subdivision elects to opt out of any potential settlement by June 30th, 2021. And whereas the City of Newcastle, after due consideration, has determined that it is in the best interest of its citizens to opt out of any potential settlement by the Indiana Attorney General and to continue to pursue recovery in the multi-district litigation. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Newcastle as follows. The City of Newcastle, Indiana hereby exercises its election to opt out of any opioid-related litigation settlement by the Indiana Attorney General, subject to and as provided under Indiana Code 4-6-15-2, and orders its duly authorized agent to submit a certified copy of this resolution to the Indiana Attorney General by June 30th, 2021. And I would move we pass Resolution 062-12021-2 this evening.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions, discussion? I know I've read some articles in the Indianapolis Star about this, this situation, and I know Mr. Harvey has sent out information about it, so.
Basically, in the very beginning, Indianapolis kind of led the state in filing that suit, and we got on board with them, and I don't know how many other communities.
I think there's 77 total in Indiana that have filed their own litigation. I think 53 are represented by the same firm that the city is utilizing.
So basically, it's went about as far as it can there, and under Mr. Harvey's advice, we're just a little off,
Yeah.
separating out.
And that particular statute, basically, the concerns are that one, it allocates it on a per capita basis without regard to necessarily whether or not a city's been more impacted than another by opioid use. And the second is that it kind of says we'll give 75% of the proceeds to FSSA to decide how FSSA wants to divide those out.
Which means we could get nothing
Yeah.
possibly if,
And so the thought process is that you can always opt back into a settlement. No settlement has tentatively been reached at this point. So if in the next 60 days, there's some more information on how these proceeds are going to be divided up, if FSSA can choose how to do it, and we think it's in the best interest of the city, then we can certainly get back in to any settlement reached by the Attorney General.
Joe, is there gonna be any need for verification of impact?
Well, we've provided information. I mean, Dave Copenhaver provided a lot of information at the outset, information specifically requested. And I think there's some statistical data, at least on the county level, as to, number of overdoses, number of emergency room visits that didn't result in death, that did result in death, those types of things that we've supplied.
okay. No other questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mike Guffey.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hubbard.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Becker.
Aye. Okay, that moves us to ordinances. Ordinance 3862, vacating a right-of-way on North 30th Street. This is third reading. I move we pass 3862 on third reading.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any more discussion or anybody? Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Mike Guffey.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hubbard.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Becker.
Aye. That brings us to second reading, ordinance 3864, vacating right-of-way, Lawson Drive, and now I believe this is a public meeting.
This is
isn't it?
public hearing,
I'll
yeah.
turn this over to Mr. Harvey for the public hearing.
All right, we call to order the public hearing on ordinance 3864, which is a request by Brian Main to vacate the platted alleyway or driveway area between 3005 Lawson Drive, 3007 Lawson Drive. If anyone would like to speak on this request, please come to the podium and state your name.
My name's Patrick Kittimer. I live at 3007 Lawson Drive. I just wanted to say that I'm in favor of this.
Closed.
If no one else would like to speak on the request, then this will close the public hearing.
Okay, so we've had a motion to pass 3864 as a second, so we'll do a roll call vote, please.
No, we
Don't-
didn't. I think we just
Okay,
did.
so I'll move
Yeah,
we
we
pass
just-
3864.
I'll second it.
Okay, so then now we'll have roll call vote, please.
Mike Guffey.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hubbard.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Becker.
Aye. Okay, then our next ordinance is second reading of the park improvements by the park board through issuance of a sales bond. That's 3865. I move we pass 3865 on second reading.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mike Guffey.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hubbard.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Becker.
Aye.
I think some priorities are gonna change there after this weekend at the park and the pool.
In terms of trees and,
I'd ready for this weekend to be over.
yeah, I never saw so many little limbs just out in the streets, just falling off, it's craziness. Okay, then, that brings us through the resolutions and ordinances. I would like to, now revisit something we've talked about, and I'm just gonna make a motion. We can vote on that, and then if we vote for that, it takes care of it. If we vote against it, then somebody will have to make a motion to do away with the ordinance. But right now, we have an ordinance that says there's 2-hour parking on Broad Street, and I'm gonna just make a motion that we add 2 signs to each block of Broad from 11th Street up to 15th Street, and that's the motion I'm making.
Yeah. Are you meeting at the start and end of 11th and end of 15th Street?
When from the 1200 block, 1300 block, and 1400 block of Broad Street.
Just be one sign at the start and beginning of it? Or at
Well,
each
you'd have
lot?
two signs, you'd have a sign probably toward the beginning of the block, and then a sign kind of the middle of the block. And on the other side of the street, same thing. So you'd have 6 signs on each side of the street.
Is that from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.?
That's fine. I think that's what it was in the past.
So don't-
Whatever the current ordinance says, you know,
Yeah.
so.
That way don't interfere with
Yeah.
things going on downtown.
I mean, if
in the
we,
evening.
and it's okay if we don't pass this, but if we don't, then somebody needs to make a motion to do away with the ordinance that we have on the books.
Do we
Not
know what?
necessarily.
Well, if you
Joe,
have an
could-
ordinance.
Could we get away with putting a sign at, like at 12th Street and a sign at 15th Street saying 2-hour
As long as you don't
parking?
hit Jeff in the nose, we can do that.
I'm leaning about as far
I'm
as I'm going.
Could we do that and get away with it?
Well, it has to be, I mean, and I guess the question would be, if you go in to enforce it, it has to be, to enforce the parking ordinance, it has to be an area where it's marked. So, I mean, it would be debatable possibly, even if the sign said no 2-hour parking from this spot to this spot, then you probably could. If it just said 2-hour parking at this spot, and a reasonable person wouldn't think it
that's-
applied back here.
That's what I'm suggesting from like 12th, 15th, or 11th to 15th.
With
Yeah.
somebody, but the thing I'm concerned about, if somebody pulls in, if you put one at 11th, and you put one at 15th, and somebody parks in the, 13 or 1400 block, and there's no signs there, and they get a ticket, I just don't know how fair that is.
Chief, how many tickets been given out for 2-hour parking?
Well, then I would say at that point, then we need to do away with the ordinance.
No, I'm not saying that at all. My whole thing is, we put a lot of time and effort into creating this landscape downtown. And you put those signs in there, that's gonna take away from that visual landscape.
Some of the nicest places in the country have signs that say no parking.
It's not Newcastle, Indiana, Rex.
Well, I'm just
I have
saying,
something to
I'm just
say
saying,
about
if we have an ordinance on the books, I'm fine if we don't want them. But if we don't want them, let's take the ordinance off the books, and
How
then
big of
we
an
don't have
issue
to have
is it?
them. Well, it is an issue if all of a sudden somebody calls the police department and says there's an ordinance that says 2-hour parking on Broad, and they put some pressure on them to come out and write somebody a ticket, and, then they've got to make a decision. Okay, well, we're supposed to write the citizens complain, we're supposed to write them a ticket because they're parking in a 2-hour zone that they didn't even know was a 2-hour zone. I mean, I just want to be fair to everybody involved,
I think the bottom line is you better be cognizant of what the business owners are gonna be.
and I've had 2 people call me and want
Because
2-hour
I
parking.
don't mind putting the signs up, I'm not against it, but in 2 months from now, are we gonna have a room full of business owners?
Lynn, you've got a business in that area, what do you think?
I mean,
My truck's parked there about 6 hours a day.
There you go. Well, so you want 6-hour parking.
I get it, and I get what Jerry's saying too.
I just wish there was another way to put signs. We have one sign, and the arrows are pointing perpendicular to the street. I don't think anyone's gonna be parking middle of Broad Street. I don't know who put that up. I know the arrows should be running parallel.
Maybe you put one in each block, just one in each block,
Well, that's what I
at the
was
start of
saying.
the direction where they're gonna park, and that's fine too. I just think there needs to be some kind of indication.
hang them underneath those beautiful banners up there.
Yeah. But I just think it needs to be, I think there needs to be some sort of indication that you can't park
I
here
mean, they are
forever.
nice, I mean, you
And-
might as well put a no parking sign up.
And if we don't, I don't care, if we don't want 2-hour parking there, then
Do we know what
Do away
ordinance
with it.
number it is
Are
by
there,
chance?
I'm trying to think here, guys. Are there cables going across Broad Street connecting the stoplights?
Yeah, but it's the states, and they
won't let us hang in?
that look.
Can't even look at them.
I have a question. So you're saying, Rex, that anytime there's like a no parking sign on 11th Street, that there literally should be a sign on every block, so it's in visual range? So you're talking a lot of signage across town you're gonna have to add to.
No, I'm talking a sign, on 11th, shortly into 11th, and then another one in that 2 in each block at the most.
But there's only like one, so I think there's other areas.
And
you
it could
might
be
have to look
one,
at.
it could be one in each block. I'm just saying, if we're gonna have an ordinance,
Right.
if we're gonna have an ordinance, then we need to let people know that
Enforce that ordinance.
yeah, I mean, that it could be enforced. I mean, the
Yeah.
police department may not have enough time to go up there and run people off, but if an ordinance is on the books, then they could be compelled, I mean, am I right, Matt? You could be compelled to enforce that ordinance if it's on the books.
Correct.
Do we know what ordinance it is off? Probably not.
I mean, I don't know the number. off the top of my
Right.
head, yeah.
Can we table it, look at the ordinance? Because I'm just curious the date on it.
Well, it
And
really doesn't matter
maybe
when it
give
was.
us, well, I mean, things have changed.
Well, I know if that's the case, then we need to get rid of the ordinance.
Right, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I want to look at that, and I want to talk to other business owners too, and just, I mean, that's what we've done on all the changes we've made pretty much with the traffic committee, and I think Jerry and I discussed it, and
Well,
yeah,
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Matt, if you were to get a call that says somebody's parked in front of the old Smith's Jewelry building for 2 hours, and the car's already been there 2 hours, don't you guys have to come by and kind of look at the car, see what time it is, then come back in 2 hours?
Yeah, we used to be able to chalk tires, but, thanks to the Supreme Court, they consider that a violation of their civil rights. Can't chalk a tire, we used to chalk a tire.
Right.
Check the time, come back to see if it moved or not, we're not allowed to do that anymore, so we have to.
So you'd have to-
Honestly,
if
we
the car
could come
came-
back
so
and
if
the
the
guy
car
said,
came in
yeah, I
at 1
moved the
o'clock.
foot, and then you're kinda,
Okay,
cause we
so-
run into that with people, because we have another ordinance that says the car has to be moved within, yeah, it has to be moved ever so many days. Well, we got people moving them 6 inches and then moving them 6 inches back, just to leave them there. If you don't have some sort of signage up there, you're gonna have people parking cars and leaving them there as long as you can. If you have a sign that says 2-hour parking during a window of business hours, I think would be better. Otherwise, you're gonna have people parking cars on a state road, on Broad Street, and leave them.
Lane,
Case
you're-
in point for
I'm
the
sorry.
apartment building, they're gonna be leaving them, if they can't park over in the parking lot, you're gonna have people parking there. We used to have it when people had various apartments up and down Broad, leave their cars out there all night, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. We normally don't get very many calls about that, but if you do not have some sort of ordinance in place, it's not like we're gonna be going up and down through there looking, we don't really have time to do that.
If we had 2 or 4 signs in each block, how much time do we, or how much time do we spend monitoring that, unless somebody calls out?
It's gonna be monitored only by complaint only.
Yeah.
I understand what Lynn's saying.
Yeah.
But right next door to Lynn is a beauty shop. Now, I know curls and a dye, some touch-up,
That's where I go.
they can be there for
Takes
3
at
or
least
4
3
hours.
It's not quick.
I'm just trying to devil's advocate.
Sunshine.
Lane, you're a downtown businessman. How many do you see parked over 2 hours
I'm
in
just
your
saying,
area?
Just
if we
your
do not
truck.
leave.
Other than yourself.
That's why I'm taking naps.
That's yours.
You're gonna have people trying to abandon their cars up there on the road. And then
I'm
we're
not
gonna have
a-
to do the 15-day, go through the 15-day because we don't have the 2 hour.
Right, I'm not against the ordinance, that's not what I'm against, I'm just trying to think of another way to do it and not take away from the visual landscape.
Right.
That's what I'm
There's
trying
no
to do.
parking sign that's pretty. It's just, it's just.
Do we have,
doesn't exist.
do we have car abandonment issues now?
Not on Broad Street.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I
I
know,
don't think we would.
like you said, the root of the
No,
issue
no-
is,
No abandonment issues on Broad Street.
No,
but-
no, we've taken
But,
care of those over the
but
years.
theoretically, all of a sudden, I mean, you know, we hope that someday, every storefront on Broad is filled with something, whether it be a restaurant or a shop or something. And if that's the case, then people like to get to be able to, and I've got no problem with people that are going into cut and curl, being there a little while, because I mean they're in that business. But if people like to be able to pull up, get out of their car, and go into Office Source or wherever it may be, and if most of the people that go into a restaurant, around 2 hours is probably not a bad time. And by the time the police were called, it's going to probably be 3 or 4 because you're going to have to come. You're going to have to see they're there, and you're going to have to come back later. And so I mean, I just think if we get Broad Street thriving the way we hope it does, then 2 hour the people that have talked to me feel 2 hour parking is going to be a good thing because it will keep people, because theoretically, if we get a lot of a lot of people parking in Jennings parking lot, in the parking lot, the Plaza parking lot. Then all of a sudden, somebody comes back and they don't have a place and they just park their car, there, and it's there an indefinite amount of time and takes up a space. And I don't know. I just think if we've got the ordinance, we need to make it clear that's in place.
Too bad you redesigned all the handrails around there, Mr. Mayor. We could've stuck them on those.
Yeah.
So how long has it been since we've had a sign up?
Since the reconstruction.
Yeah, they took them out when they did the reconstruction.
So we all agree, we need the ordinance, we all agree, we wanna keep downtown looking as nice as we possibly can, we don't want a bunch of sign pollution. So, why don't we just put the minimum amount of signage up so Matt can do his job if need be?
I honestly don't know that it's gonna,
It may not have a big impact.
Before, when we had the signs up, we had very minimal amount of calls.
Yeah.
And usually we track down the owners, said they can only park for 2 hours. But they could drive right around the block and park again, and then. Did it say 8
But as
o'clock?
It says
Yeah, I think it did say 8 to 5.
As we maybe get a more thriving downtown, that may become more of an issue.
Correct.
Yeah,
Good.
so.
I personally would like to table it for next meeting, to make a decision next meeting, and I'll go, around to every business downtown and ask their opinion, and then I'll feel better about making a decision. Because right now, I'm not necessarily for it, because I don't see it as an issue, but I also totally understand and agree that our ordinances should, be right. Whether it's, if we have 2 hour parking or we don't, we need to fix the ordinance. So I think I'll be more prepared next meeting to make a decision.
I'll withdraw the motion, that way we don't have to table it, and then we'll bring it up next meeting.
So Rex, you're
Fine with me.
basically saying one sign each direction per block, right?
That would be fine.
Basically.
I'd like it to be whatever Mr. Harvey thinks is sufficient, or Chief Schofield thinks is sufficient for, if we should need to enforce that ordinance, for it to be enforced. I just don't want somebody to get up there and then somebody call and complain to the police, hey, it's 2 hour parking up here. And that could lead to a lot of issues when they come up and want to give somebody a ticket. They say, where's it say it's 2 hour parking? Well, it says it doesn't say it, or it says it down there, or.
Well,
Yeah.
what I'd like to suggest is for all of us to take a look and possibly suggest, if we do so, get it as close to the corner as we possibly can, so it's not in front of the business, in front of our new nice light poles and our banners, things
Yeah,
like that.
I like Aaron's idea of him going and talking to the people. He's,
You
that's
guys
cool.
just relax and drink
Patty,
some
what do you
tea.
like? What would you like to say?
I just think that you need to remember, we at one time owned a building and it had an apartment on Broad Street. And they would have had to walk a block because, and that's not fair. And then the Jennings building has several. I know there is 1400 Plaza, but if they have guests or something, and you look at that person and say, you parked for 2 hours, you've got residential, and we're looking to hopefully one day have more residential on Broad Street. And, you gotta think about that.
Yeah, I'm open to. I'm not saying doing this to get signs or not signs, I just think it's something we need to address so it's fair to everybody and it's across the board and there's no surprises. So,
Well,
anyway,
and Rex, Aaron brought it up last time too, when you guys weren't here, about maybe identifying different parking lots around town somehow, some way too. So,
okay, well, we'll revisit that next meeting. We'll start committee reports. Mr. Guffey.
Well, I'd just like to thank Lee for a good job that the street department's done, and I've kept him hopping a little bit, and he's came through, and also Kenny's department, and Jeff has been a big help. I continue to bug, and they're getting some things done, and I do appreciate that. That's all I have.
Mr. Hancock.
I got a couple of things. Dave, did you have a chance to look at 3800 South Main Street, Gene Miller's, with the erosion and all that?
did not.
I went out there, you did, because I went out there and talked to Gene today and all that, and he showed me stuff and all that. I guess it's a county runoff and all that, but on both sides, the city owns the property. He showed me where his property is. You went out and looked at it. Did you talk to Gene?
No, I hadn't talked.
Okay. He said on back there, Pritchard's did a little dig out, put some rock for that and all that. But the city does, I don't know if it's an easement you'd call it or whatever, but we own about 6 feet of it on both sides. But there's and it's not all the time running, but a lot of rain and it's running through there, and there's some erosion and stuff. At first I reported it's Gene's property, but when I went out there, it wasn't his property and stuff. So can we take a look at it and see what's going on?
Well,
Or-
what's he wanting? Is he wanting?
I
us
would
to
say
put
it's some rock put in,
riprap in there, or is it?
some rock and stuff, just to keep it from, keep on washing out and all that.
is it to that wall they put in?
Well, that creek goes underneath that wall.
Well,
correct?
yeah.
Back away.
When I was on county council, they came in there and it came in and was wide on his side, and then it was low on the other side, and had such a backflow. I don't know why you reduced the flow, and it caused problems with him. And at that time, it was Jason's previous owner, Greg, and all that. It just got in their garage and all that.
Yeah.
So the county went out and looked at it. So they had that flow opened up and redid where it flows with no reduce or anything like that and all that. But I guess there's still some erosion and all that stuff. So yeah, I would think some rock or whatever just to keep it from washing away would be great.
I really wasn't knowing why it was one. When I look at it, I see it that it's county property, you know, the creek comes right
I
through the edge of the city
understand and all that.
property. So I look at it, if that tree fell down,
Right.
it's on the owner's, the
Yeah.
homeowner's property. so-
Right. The county's, is there, I'm gonna call it creek, but whatever, but it's erosion some of the city property and all that stuff, so.
Yeah.
So.
Does that water come from a field tile, or where's it come from?
I think it comes off of 103 and that farmland and all that comes through there.
It's
It's
old
mostly
creek
runoff.
bottom.
Is there a creek?
It
Yeah.
used to be an old creek. that went
Yeah,
through there.
stuff. When I was out there today, it was probably 6 inches deep or so flowing through there and all that. But if you get back with me or Gene, what we want to resolve and do, I appreciate it. The second thing is, and the other day, and I backed up, it's 3 and 38. It must have been an accident there or something. There's glass everywhere. But I've seen a city truck come by, sweep up some of that glass. I backed up. This is on State Road, so it's really nice. It went way above the line of duty. Came back through Kroger, came back and made 3 rounds to clean that glass up. And I mean, it was glass everywhere, so hats off to, whose department is that? They're not here. Huh?
Well, it was a street sweeper.
It was, yeah, the sanitation that
Okay.
washes down
That's great.
Fred, but they did a great job. It's state property, and they cleaned it all up. He made 3 or 4 rounds to get all the glass up, so.
Well, not tooting our guy's horn, but we do a lot to Broad Street.
Yeah, yeah, and
the
stuff.
state.
Well, I mean, Road 3, I know it's a little confusion there. I feel bad. It was a bad accident, I guess, because there's glass everywhere. It was 1.5 lanes and probably 2 car lengths. I mean, you couldn't avoid going through there and picking up glass, but they did a great job cleaning it up, so. That's all, Your Honor.
Jerry?
I just want to update everyone on the land bank. Joel, you can help me out with this if you'd like. We are basically settling in on all of our policies. We reviewed through those last week. I think we're really close. Martin has done a great job on working all that. Do you know who's been helping him out with
I think it's been Martin and Dennis Hamilton.
Okay.
Primarily taking the
just
draft.
and they're really advanced, and we're about ready to go with those. So we've also picked a financial institution. We'll be doing business with Star Financial. Dennis and I will be going by signing the papers off this Friday. That's news to you, Joel. So I think we're real close to get things going here in July. So I get some good news.
Thank you, Jerry, for
Yeah.
all the work you've done.
Yeah.
It's been, well, I know.
Joe's
It's been a
been
team
nice
effort
too.
between several of you guys. but I
It's
appreciate
a
it.
great group of people. Everyone's taking it very seriously and just it's,
And the startup money, you guys are okay? And
we got the $5,000 from the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and we wanted to get settled in on that. We may be coming and asking for some startup.
okay,
We have 4 properties that were up for the county auction. We,
refresh my memory, but when we talked months or years ago about
oh, you're
this,
testing me.
about the startup, what didn't we say that, yes, we could loan, and then the bank pay us back
yes.
over a period? Is that right, Joel?
You can do
that's-
that.
That was a discussion that was
Yeah.
Right,
done
okay.
here, so. We may come back. and
Oh, that's fine.
ask
No, we
council
expect,
for it.
I mean, I expect it.
Okay. Dennis.
Which I want you to.
You
I
can't
want
do
you to.
anything with nothing. I mean, it's,
Right.
Yeah, I want you to, yes.
And the mayor's been very helpful with us and made some really great suggestions, and it's been a fun group to be with.
Properties we can sell right away.
Yes, yes. And there's open lot with city property with a structure on it and things like that, so it's going really well. I don't want to toot Aaron's horn too much here, but Juneteenth, I got to be there just for the start of it, and I'll let Aaron go on. I know Rex, you were there, and I had a Father's Day dinner to get to over at Anthony's Chop House, and I wasn't going to miss that, so.
Aaron did a great job representing the city.
And I want to thank the Elks for their sponsored get-together. After that, got back later on with that. They had a great band, and Kathy and I enjoyed that. It was a really good weekend this weekend in Newcastle, other than the storms. We were at Duke Tomato. Kathy and I moved to the restrooms all the way on the east side, and we still got wet. I've never seen rain blow through a place like that. And then Greg stopped by, or the mayor stopped by to check everyone was okay, and he told me about the tree with your son, Mark, and God blessings that he, that's a fraction of a second. It could have been much worse.
Close.
So really happy about that. But Newcastle really shined this weekend. A lot of people downtown, very active, so very proud of that. That's all.
Okay, Mr. Dickon.
Kind of on the topic of the land bank, maybe even more tilting towards the RDC planning type topic. Something I've been thinking a lot about since our last meeting was ways to plan and situate ourselves to both the city and the county get out of properties in the historic district, because we can't afford to take care of them the way they have to be taken care of. And I think, in some aspects, there might be better options for the ones that we use. I mean, I think the EDC is doing real well where they are. I'm not suggesting they move, but as far as like the county deputies in the Mariana building, maybe even the senior center, as far as accessibility, I think these are all things that the city and the county both need to think very heavily about in terms of planning because of the momentum downtown. I mean, you're going to eliminate the cost burden of upkeep of the building, eliminate the threat of what I see as kind of a PR nightmare of buildings collapsing or having to tear them down. You're going to get buildings and properties back on the tax roll, and you're going to feed back into downtown and get more entrepreneurs downtown. So, I mean, it's obviously nothing that can be done overnight, and I think it's got to be done strategically. But I think both the land bank and the RDC are good mechanisms to leverage the most out of those properties that we do have that either we are using and it's just not, generating money, and there might be some other more cost-effective option, or probably more in the county's case, buildings that are sitting empty. And I know we can't do anything about that, but I think these are things that, we don't need to look to make a ton of money on, if any money, because the return on investment of a developer or entrepreneur is going to pay back tenfold. So I know I mentioned that last meeting. I kind of wanted to be a little more in-depth and direct, and that's all I have, though.
Okay, Mr. Coder.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Purdue?
Nothing.
Okay, just not a lot, but like Jerry, I really appreciated the Juneteenth celebration, and Aaron, like I mentioned, did a tremendous job representing himself and the city. The Elks Employee Appreciation Dinner was great. Maybe not as well attended as they hoped it would be, but I think they're going to do it again. And the Elks have been, over the years, a great partner with activities going on in the city, from the hoop shoot to this employee appreciation dinner to some of the things they do with law enforcement. Just really appreciate them. And then last night, our Tommy Allen came back to Newcastle at the Armory. Jerry and I were both there, and the mayor, really appreciate the mayor's part, and Mr. Burgum especially. I know he did a lot of work on that. He's been working on it for a long time because well, but you did a great job representing us, Mayor. I appreciate that. And just great to hear somebody like Tommy come back that's one of our own, and his dad, one of the greatest men I've ever known, got a special honor at the end of that. And just real, it's just real proud to be from Newcastle. And I think that's all I have. So I see Carrie Barrett here. I know Carrie likes to come up and give us a little rundown. And oh, I should have. Well, we'll go back to stuff in a minute. Go ahead, Carrie.
Okay, you guys all know this is coming. In 2019, you invested $25,000 in Newcastle Main Street. We did great things with it. We want more. You guys told me to be short. So I was short. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. No, we have lots of exciting things coming up. That $25,000 gave us the opportunity to grow and get to where we can have a strategic plan. And right now we have volunteers. And that's amazing because we're getting more done. It's like exponential, the work we can do once people start volunteering. And I do have one of the best volunteers in Lydia Harvey. She's amazing. She is way smarter than me. And I'm having her write all of my emails now. So if you get a smart email from me, it's really from Lydia. She's my secret weapon. But I'm just hoping that you guys, our goals are business support, beautification and historic preservation, placemaking and experiences, and awareness and engagement. So a big part of this will be marketing, letting people know what great things we have and telling our story in a great way.
It's very obvious what you've accomplished.
It's not just me. It's a lot. Takes a village.
When I
and then
say
there's the village
you,
idiot.
I mean your group, okay?
Yes, thank you.
And it's easy to see. It looks great. And I'm going to suggest not only $25,000, but maybe think about a little bit more than that.
Now, I was going to suggest more, but then, and she had me after that first statement because I decided we were going to take off $100 for every word she said.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding, Barry.
I felt like I needed to give a little more.
And I don't know what that fair amount would be. Aaron, you've been more involved with this than
I think I've had some conversations, and I personally think that we could probably see every dime that we've invested into Newcastle Main Street, which is great because I think that achieves what the city's first step forward should be when people come to visit. And I think it also fosters a sense of pride in our hometown that I don't think has been here in my generation anyway, which is a generation that saw Chrysler go and things just turn, gray. So, I would like to make a motion to give $35,000 because I think that, we're going to see that come back because I think Newcastle Main Street's leading the charge in marketing and publicity of our community and coordinates with the chamber, the EDC, works with about everybody.
That 35,000, are you talking about out of a riverboat?
Yeah.
What are we?
And I guess that's the.
What are we earmarked for that right now?
That was a one-time.
Yeah, when
No,
was it?
I-
we?
February.
But
But
when
it was
did we
a
give you?
one-time
When
deal.
did we
Other
present you with the
earmarks.
$25,000 before?
In 2019, in the
Okay.
beginning of 19.
So I mean, so probably with this, we're probably talking maybe a couple of years or 18 months before you're.
We skipped.
Because this is
a year.
about
We
half of,
skipped a year
this is
too.
about half
I mean,
of what
you
we
don't
bring
know.
in, about half of what we bring in Riverboat each year. You know, so I mean, but I have no problem with it. I just, you know, I wasn't sure when we,
Well,
but it's a good expenditure.
you know, and I think the dollars that we spend out of Riverboat, I've always felt like that needs to be impact dollars. Something that the entire community can look at and feel it. And I know from being downtown, I see the dollars spent. And that engages me in coming up with my own personal money to do flower pots and different things too, because I see what's happening. So it's very contagious with our downtown businesses. So I support that motion 100%.
And it shows.
Yeah.
And I guess on that topic, Lynn, I've been thinking of how, I mean, when it comes to the budget, aside from voting on it, we don't have a ton of say. And if we sit on the riverboat, we're just as bad as, and not to the
Well, we
extent,
don't-
but
we
we're
don't-
just as bad as the
we don't
state
sit on
sitting
it
on
much. I
there.
mean, we
I know.
continually use
And
it.
I don't think we should because, yeah.
So Lynn, did you second?
If that's a second, did we made a motion yet?
Yeah, Aaron made the motion.
I second.
I thought you
Okay.
did already, but that's.
Whoever. Yeah.
That's okay. Okay, any other discussion?
I'd just like to say one thing. I'm totally not against the 35. But I would really like to see Main Street work a lot closer with the historic preservation on making sure our buildings, like Aaron just talked about, the stability and the structures of, start attending their meetings, working with them a little bit more. If that's possible, maybe have a subcommittee that works with them.
For 50,000, no, I'm kidding.
Uh,
It's in our strategic plan, Mark.
Thank you.
And that would be, and one of the things that we are doing is every quarter, we go to every business. So one of the things we'll do, and so RDC, watch out, is we're gonna give them information on the facade program, and we're gonna start doing some zoning information.
Okay.
But I don't know how that works.
Well, and I think
Okay, that's
events
fine.
like the open house too that we partnered with.
Well, I know
are-
Mike and Scott
Yeah,
are
right.
so they know more about those structures than anybody in town, so.
We would be I think that's part of our plan, is to get the word out, absolutely, so people know
Okay.
that those things exist.
And if, I don't wanna say this out loud, I probably shouldn't say it out loud, but if it comes to historical preservation and you need something, there's places to go with RDC and us and, you know, so keep that in mind.
Maybe that little extra help out with homecoming this year too, so.
Well, that's true. That's very true.
Okay, any more questions or discussion? If not, we've got a motion on the floor, so let's take a roll call vote.
Mike Guthrie.
Aye.
Jeff Hanks.
Aye.
Jerry Walton.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hoker.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Hexenball.
Aye. There you go.
There you go.
I'm out of here quick. to say thank you.
Corey, do you have anything for us
Thank
tonight?
you very much.
I should have just had Carrie ask.
Yeah, because hey, it's too late now, she's got all the money.
I think that's the moral of the story, is just have Carrie
Get
ask.
there first.
At the last meeting, I talked about Ready. You adopted the resolution, appreciate that, but there's a cost of entry. The geography of Henry County needs to raise $30,000. 15 of that needs to be available next week, the end of June. And what that does is it's a match. The region can get $50,000 from the state for a planning grant, but we have to raise $100,000. The other $15,000 is to prove that we have basically capacity at the regional level to manage the projects and receive and disperse the money. And so 15 of it now, and then 15 basically in January if we're funded. Only a regional group can serve as the coordinating entity and as the fiscal agent, and that is the East Central Indiana Regional Partnership. That is not the Regional Planning Commission. It's Alphabet Soup. It's a similar name, but it's the regional marketing partnership that we have been a member of, well, ever since it's been in existence. And then the predecessor organization to that was formed in the mid-90s. So we're using that organization to apply for Ready. Knightstown has contributed $3,000. Middletown is considering a contribution of $1,500 to $3,000. I won't know that until next week. The hospital or the hospital foundation is open to contributing. I'm having a conversation with the community foundation. I'll be asking the county for 15.
15,000?
I'll be asking the county for 15.
Because you want to go ahead and get that 30, right?
Well,
So
I need
we're at
15.
15, right.
Yeah, I do. I want the 30 all
Because you don't
taken.
want to have to go
Right.
back.
But just in the way of the timing flows of meetings and this aggressive time schedule, the county council meets Thursday of this week.
Is Middletown solid 15?
No, Middletown's anywhere between 1,500 or 3,000. But Knightstown's already voted.
And they voted for 6?
3.
3, okay.
Okay, Corey. Third grade education here.
Uh-oh. Those are usually the toughest.
We got the 15,000, 30,000 total. You're saying it's regional.
Yes.
If there's, how many participants in this region?
I think just Henry County is tasked with 30.
We're all tasked with
And the
raising
rest
30.
of it
Okay,
is-
so if somebody doesn't raise their 30, are they still in the loop for getting?
If we don't participate, we're not in either.
Okay, so that would be more pie for us if they don't participate, and we get it.
Right. So we received word today that Fayette County is not.
Wouldn't call it pie.
Well,
Fayette County's not going to participate.
I'd like to,
I get it. No,
I don't know if this motion will work. You guys can tell me it may not work, it may not work for you. But I would like to see us commit to covering the difference in that first 15,000 with the money from Middletown and Knightstown and the community, you know, anything you get, and don't tell them, don't write this in the paper, please, because we don't want them, because we do want them to contribute, but any amount that, up to that 15, I think we might be able to cover out of Riverboat. I don't know how everybody feels about that, but that's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Can we go ahead and add in some skin in the game, though?
Well,
Like
he
a
doesn't-
low amount?
Do what?
Can we say
Like
like
a low
10,000?
amount? Can we
Let's
say we're
like
going to give
10,000.
5,000?
Yeah, we can
and
say,
we will.
well, we'll say a minimum of 5 up to covering the difference of up to
There you go.
15, you know, in the first 15.
On both ends. The first 15 and then the second 15.
Well, he's
if the
hopefully
county
going to get
puts
the
in-
county, let's let the county, the county ought to pony up.
They ought to pony up.
Because
I
they're
mean,
the biggest entity, they
absolutely.
represent
They
everybody
need to pony up. We're
in
bailing them
in
out.
Newcastle, that's right.
Exactly. They're getting all the gravy,
Right,
we're
and
getting the crumbs.
And we're gonna
each-
give, in terms of our portion of the pie,
Are those
we're gonna
pie
give
crumbs or
probably
pizza
more
crumbs?
Well, you know.
than, we're probably gonna give a bigger portion than most, you know, when you get right down to it, so.
Well, you know, I understand this industrial, if we
Right.
get the industrial development, it's all going to the county.
Right.
They're getting all the tax money, we're getting the
Right.
water and sewage,
Right.
hopefully.
We gotta work for that.
And we got to pay for that, you know.
So-
So, I don't know, I just,
But I'm not for, I want
yeah,
the county or somebody else to take care of the second 15.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
that's why I didn't want to say the second.
Yeah.
15,
No,
because
no,
they'll
just,
sit back and say, well,
just
they're
this
taking care of
first 15 that we need,
Absolutely.
and we have an urgency on, that's what I'm talking about. A minimum of, what did I say, a minimum of? 5, but up to the remainder of whatever that 15 is. Is that good
that
for you?
legal, Joe?
Yeah,
Do,
I think
do,
so.
do you all understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Do you?
Yeah.
do you?
Yeah, because we're going to give you the minimum 5, and that
Okay.
5, if other people give you money, may be enough to cover the 15.
But if it's not.
But if
fill
it's
in.
not, let's say with that 5 you get to 13, then we're going to throw another 2,000 in the pot.
You need us back.
You're not
Next
comfortable.
week.
next week.
So in other words, you've got kind of
Corey's got to look.
you got an open line of credit on that to get to,
We-
to get to 15. Up to 15, Corey.
Line of
Up to
credit.
15.
Checks from the other.
Yes, and
I guess
Brenda
we-
wants to see it all.
I guess we need to know what the county's gonna pony.
Well, so.
Well, we don't need to know what the county's gonna pony up. It
You're
has
paying the
nothing to do with it.
difference.
What if they don't do it?
No,
Well,
except for the
then we're in
first
trouble.
round.
It's their fault we failed.
I mean, I guess we should go ahead. I mean, was that your motion? Because I'll second it. Let's vote for that, and then I got something else to tell you.
Okay, anybody other discussion? Roll call vote.
I'm not sure what
Mike
to vote
Guffey.
on.
Okay, just a second.
I'm with
Five.
No, I do. I keep
Tell
worried
me.
about Corey's look. He's looking at me
Yeah,
like
he looks at it like it's
sense.
not,
me.
well, I
So-
think he thinks we're giving him too much.
No.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, we can cut it down, Corey, if he wants to.
No.
It's 10,000 better.
You wanna bring Carrie back up?
When will you know what all the other contributors contribute?
I'll just borrow from her.
Good question.
When will you know what all the other contributors are getting? That's the
Well, he has to know by when is the deadline?
They gotta have like next.
For the 15.
Yeah, I gotta have 15 by next week.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that we're not gonna come up short and not be able to meet next week.
When will you know if they are contributing? That
The
will
county?
determine- No. You said the foundation, you said the hospital foundation, Middletown, and Knightstown.
I don't know the community foundation's process.
So it may not, the money may not come in fast
Yeah.
enough to do that.
So Knightstown's a go on.
Knightstown's a go.
Well, that's what I want to do with this. I want to make sure that come next week, Corey will be able to have $15,000 to keep us in the loop on
This
this.
will be up to 12,000.
Yeah, right, because if we don't,
Okay, I'm clear now.
if we
I'm clear
don't,
now.
We get
then we're out of the loop.
up to 12.
Yeah, thank
5
you.
to 12, and we're able to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Today's 21st.
Yeah.
Next Monday is 28th, and Wednesday, the 30th is,
Yeah,
so will you know from the other people by the 28th?
should.
Yeah. Well, if
Unless
he
people-
doesn't, he's gonna get he's
unless
gonna get
people-
the remainder of the
Right,
money from
yeah.
us, because we need it.
So if you let Brenda know by the 28th what you need, up to $12,000, you should be able to cut a check by the 30th.
Yeah,
Right.
perfect.
Then I want to
Thank
follow
you.
that up with if we can make calls or visit any of these to help encourage, like, I think that's also kind of our job too, so.
Thank you.
All right, roll call vote.
Mike Guffey.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Weldon.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hoger.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Cup.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you. You had a question?
That was
Felt
it.
like I-
No,
I
that
felt
was
like I
it.
bought
That
a
was
car
it.
tonight.
Nope, that was it. Go home and take an aspirin.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll go, Your Honor, I'll turn.
Somebody else in August.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not asking for any money.
He realizes it's getting a little late in the game to ask
Yeah, I
somebody
think you're
to buy.
out. So, thanks for your time, first off. I'm Tim Welch from the Newcastle Fire Department. I'm on duty, so I'm trying to make it brief. But recently, I tried to visit each of you, and I gave you an invitation to our Fire Ops program. It's invitation only, and I tried to catch everybody. I think I caught Lynn tonight, and we already discussed that situation. He was gone. So, but Fire Ops, we put on about 12 years ago, and we invited a lot of local our leaders. And so we had a great turnout, and we discussed it this year, and we decided to do it again. We have a couple veterans from that last Fire Ops, Jeff and Brenda, and they're here today, so good for you guys.
If they
You get to do it
survive, then
again.
maybe there's hope for the rest of us.
Exactly.
We survived.
Fire Ops is basically you get to see a day of what we possibly can do. There's 4 events that will be included. The search and rescue, operate the elevated ascending tower 100 feet in the air. You'll cut a victim out of a vehicle with their jaws alive, and there'll be a feel the heat live fire evolution. And the reason I'm up here talking today is to try to encourage all of you to participate. I mean, we've committed, all the Newcastle firefighters committed to be part of this and to provide it for you. It's a long process. It's October 30th. It's a Saturday. It'll last about 8 hours. It's like I said, it's very limited on what we can do, but it takes a while to get ready.
We try to make sure we have everyone's commitment early on, so we know what to look for. It's not just show up and do it. Once I find out who all can make it, even if you don't want to participate in every event, we'll have to get you fitted for gear. There'll be a small physical we do. It's a process. But what I'm trying to do is I'm challenging everyone that's here that I've given an invitation to be there. And maybe there's a little peer pressure involved. Maybe we're shooting for that. But we want you to all participate.
Come on, you bunch of sissies.
Yeah. I knew Jerry would speak up. He was pretty motivated.
I want to piggyback on Tim, though. I got to do it about 12 years ago. You see the ice through the fire department, EMS, and the police department. It's really a great experience and all that. One of the bad things I had was going in a dark house blindfolded and trying to find a baby, and I brought back a teddy bear. So you know how that is. Pretty hard. They got some things in there, but it is very, very good, very eye-awakening and all that.
We get to meet you guys, get to meet us, and we get to talk about things that we know a lot about, which, we enjoy that. So, again, we encourage you to come, and as soon as you're able to commit to it, please let me know.
You'll enjoy it.
Tim, I have to let you know, Kathy accused me of it being like Christmas morning. So.
You're pretty excited, so good for you. Do you have any questions for me that I can answer about that program in October?
Yeah. If me and Brenda can survive, anybody can survive, right?
Yeah, I was young back then.
You don't think I was?
Yeah, don't be a Debbie
cardiac
Downer.
group there, I'm in.
Okay.
I'm doing it. I have already committed. I put my name in the hat.
Thanks, Tim.
All right,
Well,
thank you
thanks
guys.
so much.
Tim, thanks.
Hey, one thing I want to say before I turn it over to the mayor. I'm so thankful. We have worked over the last year and a half, 2 years to get on the same page with Lowett and with the Riverboat Fund and all those things. And I really am thankful that we have been judicious, in my opinion, in passing out money out of the Riverboat Fund and out of the Lowett Fund, and we therefore have money to be able to take part in things like Corey's offering and things like Carrie's offering, and the various buying a ladder truck and the Bearcat, which Matt still won't let me drive. I'm just kidding. But anyway, I'm just thankful that we have that money, and that we've not just thrown it out there willy-nilly.
We're putting a good cause.
We've still got going. We've done some pretty good things with it. So, Your Honor, I want to turn it over to you for any report you have or report anybody else has.
Anybody else from public have anything?
Well, I was going to get them at the end, but.
Okay. Chief?
I don't have anything.
Chief? No, sir? No, sir. Yeah. Mike, you should have a lot to talk about.
He's tired, probably.
It was a good event. You did a great
I
job
appreciate
on the
everybody
topic.
showing up. We had about, I'm rounding up a little bit, but 250 people last night attended the Coach Allen event. It was great to welcome him back, particularly on Father's Day, and the culmination of the evening was perfect as well. But it was a great event. People, I think, were not necessarily surprised, but it was. Coach Allen did a great job in the setting, the venue, and everything helped out as well.
He never got off his notes either. He was right on cue. He speaks from the heart.
Well, he does.
He speaks from the heart.
Mike, don't you have a little brag about? Dylan.
No,
Dylan,
that doesn't
your
have
son.
on the city council.
Well,
Appreciate that, but-
Dylan finished 12th in the state golf meet.
And our other young man was fourth.
Sophomores?
Juniors.
Juniors.
And Derek Tabor finished T5 as
Second,
well.
yeah,
So,
fourth, yeah.
Best friends and pretty good golfers.
Yeah, pretty good golfers, yeah,
Good.
sure. Amazing.
Dave? Council?
I don't have anything else.
Ken? Brent?
Do you want to bring up the rest of you?
Oh, yes,
Or
well.
you want- I'll let you.
Okay, well, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it up. I had it written down, and then we got going on some other stuff. But we have discussed in Finance Committee meeting using money out of the Lowett funds to buy a fire rescue unit. In a minute, I'll let Brenda tell us exactly how much that is. But basically, the reason this unit is needed is because right now, whenever there's a call for the ambulance, one of our big fire trucks roll out, and that's not real economical. It's not necessarily super safe, I guess, because you got that truck going in places where it has no business. I mean, you know, tight quarters, I guess would be the way to put it sometimes. And so anyway, it's just needed, and it will mean at some point we'll hire a couple more firemen, 2 or 3 more firemen, which is needed as well to hopefully meet some OSHA requirements and things. So we want to do that out of Lowett. And Brenda, would you explain a little bit of the finances on that, please?
Okay, so the vehicle itself, we can get a brand new truck, and that's what it'll be. It'll be like a pickup truck. 2,500 for 33,000. Then Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have a lot of the equipment, correct? That could go in that vehicle.
Yes.
Okay, and then we have to get a cab for it, and roughly around 45,000 will take care of everything to get it on the road. They would not be responding to every single call. It would be your heart attacks, things like that, where if in fact the ambulance would need a driver, one of them could jump out. There will be 2 on the rescue. One could jump out and they don't have to follow with a fire truck everywhere.
Right.
Then the 3, hiring the 3 firemen with what you guys are already putting in for the raises. I've worked the figures a little bit, and that will take care of them hiring 3 firemen. So if we keep turning that raise money over, which you planned on anyway, they can go ahead and order or hire their 3 extra firemen on that money.
And basically, this does not in any way put us in any bind in our Lowett funds, because number one, we got an extra disbursement already, and that really covers the price of the truck that was above and beyond anything we knew we were going to get.
Right.
And then we will be getting the leases on the ambulances paid off in the near future. So in other words, we'll be still in good stead and fiscally responsible, and we'll be protecting the citizens of Newcastle better in the process.
Can the COVID funds be used for this?
What?
COVID?
No. No, but I will say, some of the new guys down there in fire I have talked to, and they're super excited about being able to go out and use their skills. You know, they don't wanna wash a fire truck every single day. They don't wanna wash out the bay every single day. I think that you're gonna see big response. It's not a punishment to be on the rescue unit. You're getting out there, you're using the skills that you have, and you're helping out the community.
Yeah, it's great thing.
Chief,
Okay,
where
well,
would you store that, Chief?
It'd be uptown.
It'd be here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion that we purchase this fire rescue unit out of Lowett funds, and that's it.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion or questions?
We've
Roll.
had one in the past, but it's kinda like the Andy Griffith show that Barney bought that car and the steering wheel would keep coming up. The steering wheel would come off, had a hole in the floorboard. We wore it. Half of it's still sitting down.
You got the back end set down there.
So, but it will be very much used, but we wore the last one out. Used it well.
Okay, roll call vote then.
Mike Guffey.
Aye.
Jeff Hank.
Aye.
Jerry Walton.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Koger.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Beck.
Aye. Okay, then go on around the room.
Kate? Brenda? Doug? We don't work with Doug? Great. Anything, Lee?
The other thing is, a few of you have asked about updating the trash ordinance. I actually met with Mayor Joel and Dave this morning and have made some recommendations on the trash ordinance, and it's nothing major. It's just cleaning up some language. And Joel's going to do that and show you guys a copy of to adopt the changes. And a lot of it is just things that we aren't using anymore, laws and things, so.
Can we come back to me? Did we get that from Pendleton today? I just wanted to say I made a call to Pendleton. Our chipper's kinda on the fritz and our other one got burned up. well, we can't get our new one until July. So I called Willie Bowles, who's the clerk treasurer of Pendleton, used to be Bowles Chevrolet out here, good friends of him, and I said, hey, can you loan us a chipper? And he called me back in 30 minutes, and we got a chipper. So
Awesome
to
job.
take care of
Borrowed
that.
a chipper from.
Thanks to Pitt.
Yeah, so I wanted to give a shout out to Pendleton for loaning us a chipper to take care of things.
Nice work.
And we did order a brand new one today also. It will be here a week and a half, 2 weeks, possibly.
Right, that's what they told me today, yes.
Possibly Friday, so. Anything else?
No, sir.
That takes me exactly into what I'm gonna start out with first. I had Joel check on a couple things today, and you're gonna be getting phone calls about it and hearing a lot about it. That, for example, the tree on Main Street that fell down, it's a business-owned property, business-owned tree, but it's in between the sidewalk and the street, but it's that business's tree. So they're wanting us to clean it up, and it's not just a cleanup, somebody's gonna have to cut it up piece by piece by piece,
Yeah,
because
it's
it's
a
20
big,
inches round.
big thing.
So there's gonna be some there's a lot of trees down, there's a lot of trees down. And there's gonna be some disgruntled people that, it's the city's, we're obligated to keep the road open, and.
Correct.
How's that work?
I mean, you're obligated to keep the right of way clear, but the tree is the property owner's responsibility ultimately, but.
So they did that. They worked till dark that night. The problem was the majority of every large tree branch that was laying over a road had electrical line laying through the middle of it. And got to the point where you couldn't see the lines unless it was sparking. And so, after Duke got there, they cleaned everything up that we possibly could, and didn't even get them all Friday. There was still a bunch of them on the ground that homeowners had to clean up themselves. Now, there is a little old lady that lives on 14th Street. Her tree fell down in her backyard, and her boys came and cut it up into 3-foot pieces, stacked it about 50 feet long on 14th Street, like what we asked, like what we prefer people to do. That's our obligation to pick that up. They cut up into pieces. So they said, well, how come you're picking hers up and don't pick ours up? Well, there's different circumstances. On Main Street, that's a whole half a tree laying there.
Cut it up and we will.
It's only been cut up enough to get off the road. We push it off the road to open the road up. So the ordinance is it's the property owner's obligation. We've got it out of the road, but it's that property owner's obligation to get it cleaned up.
The ordinance specifically references that we'll pick it up, brush and limbs cut. So like you mentioned, cut and by arrangements with the street department, so.
So if you get some phone calls, I'm just going over this with you now, because I know.
Appreciate that.
Because there's a lot of brush laying on the side of the road. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
So you're saying we will not pick that up? What he just read
Once
says we
it's-
will.
No, he said we would if it's cut.
It's cut.
If it's going through the chip, if they cut it into 3-foot pieces, and if it's this size.
Right.
But not if it's 20 inches round and not been cut.
Okay, that's where I was going. Is there a size limit in that ordinance? Or does it
There's
say
not in the
limbs?
ordinance, it talks about brush and limb, cut by the owner of the residence and not a third-party contractor, must be cut and placed at curbside.
But a limb is not a trunk.
Well, I think what fell on Main Street was a limb, wasn't it?
No, it was a whole tree.
It was the trunk was the trunk of the tree,
That-
basically,
well,
part
It's
of it. One of
25
them.
foot up, but it's 20 inches round.
But that was a limb, wasn't it?
Well, they've still got cut up into 3-foot pieces.
Okay, but if they do that, will we pick it up?
I don't know, we can't chip it.
I'm just saying.
At that point, here's what else happens that's really annoying.
It's the same thing as the 2-hour parking.
They'll hire a tree trimmer to come in and.
It is.
No, that's the next one. They'll hire a tree trimmer to come in and cut it up into 20-inch
Right.
pieces and send out on the road and expect us to come and get it. Well, if they hire a tree trimmer to come and cut that thing up, they need to hire that tree trimmer to haul it off.
Well, I've had some trees trimmed. That's one of the things I asked the people. I said, "You're going to haul this off, right?" And that's what. That's pretty common.
That's part of that job.
Yeah, I understand all your thought process there. I'm just saying for a CYA, shouldn't we have something in there to,
Lee, what's the diameter size of chipper?
Our
Largest size
current-
you take.
Our current chipper that we're using, anything much over 6 inches round, it's just not gonna chew it up. It's
Okay.
tore out. The new chipper that we bought will take anything up to a 12-inch diameter. And that's pretty well.
Safety wise for our guys, hell, I think we stick with the 6 inch.
Yeah, 6 to 8 inches is safe. I mean, you're talking about something 12 inches round.
I just think there needs to be a little
That's pretty good size.
definition of limb.
It's
Pretty heavy too.
Yeah.
For the guys
I
to
guess-
take that and put through there.
To elaborate on that, the second sentence behind it says arrangements must be made by contacting the city street department for the pickup of such materials on an individual basis. So I guess, as I would envision it would be, I'd call up the street department and say, hey, I've got some things cut, how do I need to cut these so you guys will come get them?
And if it's 20
And
inches,
so at
they
that
say
point,
we're
then
not.
Lee or somebody can
Yeah.
say it's
Track
gotta
it
be
out.
X size.
And I may
Put
be,
it out before and done.
Yeah.
We've picked up some things where we've used a loader in a dump truck, okay? I really don't like to do that because you're talking about some serious weight there you're picking up. in the tree.
well, and you're gonna be picking up a lot of stuff if we get in a reputation for doing that.
Yeah.
But I know, now I may know a little more about the code and everything than your average person, but I know I had a huge limb that fell down in my backyard. I asked Lee, I said, what size limb can we? He said, well, if it's cut up in, I forget how, foot sections, and he told me the diameter. Well, I looked at and it was bigger diameter, so I had somebody come and cut it up and haul it off, but.
Okay.
I mean, if they'll call the street, but the problem is a lot of people won't call, they'll do it and set it out and expect it to be gone.
Speaking of that, the tree on Indian Avenue that fell into the house between 8th and 9th Street.
And it's still laying into the house.
It's
They
still down.
expect us to clean it up.
Earl's Tree Service has been contacted, and they are going to clean that up tomorrow. Indiana Avenue, I'm gonna be closing Indiana Avenue tomorrow at 8 AM between 5th Street and 11th Street. And the reason that I'm closing it at 5th, if the semi comes off of 3 and they get up past 5th Street, there's no way for them.
No way they can get
to
out of
make a
there.
turn. So we're just gonna block it at 5th Street and 11th Street, give Earl plenty of time to get that tree out of that house, and he's gonna clean the whole thing up, so.
But they called us and asked us when they were gonna
Clean our tree up,
Clean
get
our
our
tree.
tree, get the tree out of my house.
It's a big tree too. It's bigger.
Right.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanna make sure that you could very well get some phone calls on this. I just want everybody to understand that. Now back to the ordinance. There were no complaints, there were no issues, but I talked to Joel this morning about noise ordinance. I was thinking it was 9 or 10 o'clock, and he confirmed that it's, the noise ordinance inside the city limits is 10 o'clock.
Well, actually, it's 10 o'clock for only certain things.
Okay.
It's 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock for lawn mowers, weed blowers, garden tractors, construction and repair equipment, go-karts, power tools, between 6
That
AM and
means you
10.
can't be made to work after 10.
Is that daylight savings, so you have
Yeah.
to throw that in.
And then rubbish collection, utilizing mechanical equipment between 6 AM and 9 PM. And basically how the ordinance works is, it says you can't make a noise, it doesn't say from what, over a certain decibel level or can be heard at a certain distance. Then it exempts a number of things from its requirements, such as, sounds emitted from authorized emergency vehicles, burglar alarms, warning devices, parades, festivals, carnivals, fairs, celebrations, concert performances, band and drum corps performances, artistic performances, and other events authorized by the Board of Works, noise from sporting events.
Which we let ball diamond and stay on the way past 10 o'clock.
Yep.
There's been a few times we've had some fireworks to football game, but that's okay, it's in the process. I'm not knocking you for it, I'm not knocking you for it, but I mean, that's something that's okay because it's within the confines of what we do.
And so basically what your question to me this morning was, concerts at the Arts Park or 1400 Plaza. As I would read the ordinance right now, there's not necessarily a time limit from the provisions of the noise ordinance that are apply to those events. Those events would be allowed and wouldn't be in violation of the noise ordinance.
That's what came up this weekend. Duke Tomato was here, and he stopped playing for a half hour, 45 minutes. He played to 9:30, and a couple people on the board said, we're not supposed to play past 9 o'clock. They weren't sure what time was. So what I'm asking you is, and Joel, is that 10 o'clock is what everybody thinks that we know that the time is, but are there exceptions for a concert at 1400 Plaza or at the Arts Park. And I would say, yeah, at the Arts Park. But like Patty said, we're getting residential people around 1400 Plaza that it bounces off of their windows. So before we get really serious into this, I want to know what your feelings on the Plaza and the Arts Park.
I mean, I think that's part of, fire trucks are leaving, and their sirens going, and I think it's just part of downtown living.
And I think when you move in somewhere and you're looking, there's a stage. I don't think that's unexpected to have that noise in those areas. You choose, it's like if you move in near a speedway or, someplace like that, you're gonna have some noise.
Well, yeah.
And it's not going to be consistently every night either.
Right.
Okay, well, these are just things that I want
Right,
you
yeah.
to be aware of.
Attraction.
That you
Yeah.
get some calls
That's
about.
That's what it ought
So
to
do
be.
we need to raise the time limit for?
I think it's
Maybe not everybody, but I think that's part of why you live there, since you're in the middle of the action. That's why them folks, live down there.
Okay, so if I'm okay with that, then we're.
Lynn's got a good comment.
Well, that should be part of their attraction to move downtown, to be where the action is. So that should be an expectation of that. But I want to piggyback on that a little bit. What about fireworks, personal fireworks?
It actually exempts, the noise ordinance exempts sounds associated with the use of legal fireworks.
Do we have a date, time?
Yeah.
No?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion.
There's state statute.
Yeah.
There you go.
And what
The
is
problem
that?
again is enforcement, because it's hard to,
Yeah, there's 2 times a year that they can use fireworks past 10 o'clock, and it's New Year's and 4th of July.
But what's the time frame?
4 to 2 months.
But I mean the
Like
dates.
dates.
The
It's only
dates.
those dates. It's those only 2 days. They can
Just
go
those.
past 10 o'clock.
So if we hear something in the middle of August, some leftovers.
Past 10 o'clock,
But it's past the 4th.
but past 10 o'clock.
Yeah, past
It
10
has to be
o'clock.
past 10 o'clock too, yeah.
go find.
So you're
out.
saying you can do
As long as
You
it's
can
before
do
10 o'clock.
fireworks any day of the year,
Any day of the
up
year.
until 10 o'clock. All year
and that's state. Okay.
This is American, yes.
I don't like that one. I don't like that.
Well,
We could
State ordinance supersedes.
Okay.
I'm just saying, there's gonna be questions that could be coming up.
I don't either.
Heard it 12 years ago.
Okay.
I just wanna make sure everybody's on the same page to know how to answer these.
I'm with you 1,000%.
I appreciate that, Your Honor, you telling us those
I'm
things.
with you 1,000%.
Because somebody is gonna come up with.
You know, right?
Yeah.
Are we ready to roll?
That's all I have.
Okay. Any citizens, please come forward.
I'm with you.
I don't have to come forward.
Okay, well, just stand up then.
Okay. I just want to say a thanks to Mike Burgum. He has represented our parks so well. And during that storm, and he's doing a great job on the pool. We got that renovation, but there's always something going on. And then working with teenagers, 40 of them. And then last night, he's the one that told me about Tom Allen and everything. And I really appreciate everything you've done for this community, Mike.
Thanks. Anybody else? Seeing none, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.
I agree with you, and it irritates me no end, especially when you're, and it goes past 10, but you're laying there wanting to go to sleep, and oh yeah. Let's just bring up an ordinance, don't file this.
That's just wrong.
They'll put our picture, they'll have big round things on those X's through it.
You're right. Well, that's ridiculous.
It is.